Hello, and you're very welcome to another the JMAC podcast. I'm John McMahon. Of course, this podcast is brought to you by Orgarech.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMAC podcast to get 15% off on Orgarech.com and get the best skins, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. Last night, I'm joined by former Armagh and Crossmaglen goalkeeper Paul Hearty to talk about last weekend and this weekend's Tailteann Cup semi-final. So good to have Big P on tonight. How are you keeping, P?
Not too bad, John. Yourself? I've been a while, kid.
Been a while, my man. Been a while. I was kind of referring to the fact that you're kind of like Paddy McBurdy in the game of football. You stay quiet, and when the big moment comes, Big P lands.
Oh, sure. Listen, these boys have plenty to say. I'll just come in and do me wee bit the odd time.
Now, that's an interesting one. Who has plenty to say? Name and shame, P.
John, you're the boss. You're the boss. You get the names and shames. I'm only what should I say? A small contributor here.
Jeez, you're dead right, P. With the nonsense that's in that group chat, you're dead right. How's life, my man? Armagh on the up. Great win against Donegal yesterday. Very, very convincing. You are going to an All-Ireland quarter-final now in a few weeks' time. So good times are coming back, Paul?
Yeah, certainly. We are delighted over here in the Ulster County, definitely. We probably, you probably wouldn't have thought it, I suppose, after our performance against Donegal the first day in Ballybuffet, which was, really was a damp squib of a performance. And I think what we're trying to do is see where these two performances in a row, which we backed up, where it come from, and I suppose you'll be listening to the interviews of the players and listening to, I think Kieran Donaghy's been sort of front and centre and given interviews from the management and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to bring. And obviously they were all very disappointed against in Ballybuffet against Donegal. So yeah, you can imagine just how the players are feeling because of, with a good enough league and some good performances in there, and everybody thought maybe this is the year for a push with the Ulster title. But unfortunately that didn't come to fruition. And then I suppose the final league game against Donegal too probably crept into that with the sendings off and the suspensions and just Armagh just didn't show up on the day. And we knew there was more in Armagh. We just wanted to see them bring it out. I know, looking in from the outside, like as we are, we just wanted to see Armagh perform to their potential. And obviously, the 6 weeks in between the games, between the Donegal game and the Tyrone game, they really worked hard. And we were looking players. I think Cross was looking players and to play league games and that there to give us a hand, and maybe thought it was a good job for the players maybe to have a couple of games. But the county kept the players there. They worked very hard for the 6 weeks and kept the group together. And that's probably, you can't blame them now for that lane of thinking about the way they went about their business. And they've come up trumps in that six and got a performance. Firstly against Tyrone and now secondly against Donegal, which was mightily impressive the 2 days.
Absolutely, Paul. Absolutely. I suppose before we kind of crack into the action, obviously the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship quarterfinals were made at 8:30 this morning, so nice and early. The lads were all buzzed up in the Monday morning. God, it was weird to see, Paul. I don't know about you, but every Tom, Dick and Harry was having their says. So, geez, the lads must have had quiet weekends, but it was brilliant to see a bit of action, and I suppose maybe got rid of the Monday blues because we're in for some absolutely brilliant games. So on the weekend of June 25th, you have the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship quarterfinals. Saturday, Dublin against Cork in Croke Park at 6 p.m. That'll be on Sky Sports. And then you've Derry against Clare kicking off today in Croke Park, 4:45 on Sky. And then on Sunday, you've the other quarterfinals, Kerry v Mayo in Croke Park at 4 p.m. That'll be on RT. And then kicking off today, Galway against Armagh, Croke Park, 1:45 on RT. So that'll be an unbelievable doubleheader. So that's the lay of the land for them games. But a view on that, obviously the quarterfinals look ahead to Paul.
Yeah, it's great to be in the mix, isn't it? At this end of the season, it's 2017. I think the last time Armagh was in the quarterfinal, and we played Tyrone and got I think good out beaten that day, unfortunately for our boys. But it's funny the way you say about 8:30 this morning. We were at work and we radio at work there, and we had it on, and there was a crowd of us all that gathered 8:30, and Radio 1 was on, and there was boys from Mayo there was boys from all around the country up around the radio, and we're all going, and the cheers and the yos went out when the draws come out. So it was actually good old value this morning at work, listening to the draw coming out, and plenty of banter at work because you've boys from sort of all parts of the country down and on the site. But yeah, very tasty, all games I think are very tasty fixtures. You know, you've Mayo and Kerry. Mayo obviously in the All-Ireland final last year, coming through yesterday. You know, very, very good performance. Dublin, Cork, well, you have to fancy the Dubs. The Dubs would seem to be on an upward curve at the minute. You know, Cork, obviously, with a good performance yesterday. Derry and Clare, you know, if Derry continue, they're improving all the time too. Clare, you know, they've nothing to lose going into these games. They're going in against provincial winners and nothing to lose going forward. And then, you know, ourselves in Galway. I don't think anybody could be disappointed. Porrick Joyce will not be too disappointed with us with the draw. Kieran McGeaney won't be. You know, it's all up there. I think most teams probably there have a good chance, probably except probably Cork, unfortunately, and the rest of them, you know, could pretty.
Clare, Derry, do you reckon? Yeah.
Clare, Derry. Well, the way Derry, I think Derry's been very good, very impressive this year. Rory Gallagher's been very impressive, and you know, you would fancy them. But it's all on the day. You know, these things can go away very easily. You can come up with a damn squib. I remember us in certain days winning Ulster and then coming up in quarterfinals and having really poor performances and not playing to our potential, and then you can be caught. But you'd imagine Derry would be too strong probably for Clare on the day. But you know, I'd be very interested to see where Derry are at after, you know, the heights they've come with an Ulster title, and you know, it's been so long for them, but also how they're going to knuckle down. But I'm sure Rory Gallagher will bring the boys back down to earth fairly quickly, and it'll not be long getting them back tuned in to try and get a performance. And you know, being on that side of the draw, Derry and Clare play the winners, I think, of Armagh and Galway. So you're avoiding the big guns. So he'd have his pips up in the back of his head going forward. And you know, for any of them four teams, there's an All-Ireland final there quite easily. So you avoid all the big guns until the final, and then all it could take is one really good performance in the final, and you could be on heaven's doorstep, you know. But you know, four really good fixtures. Definitely looking forward to that weekend.
Definitely, Paul. Definitely. I suppose so other news that circulated around today. The team of the week, the GA.ie team of the week, of course, is Mr. Rob Henley between the sticks, Lee Keegan, Sean Powter, Kevin O'Donovan, Pierce Lillis, Ronan Daly, Jamie Malone, Charlie Gold Burns. Charlie definitely served that. I think he did a terrific game yesterday. Kevin Feely, Rory Grugan, brilliant game yesterday as well. Adrian Enright, Shane O'Donnell, Stephen Sherlock, Rian O'Neill, no surprise, Keelan Sexton, and the three lads up for the team of the week. Player of the week is Keelan Sexton, Rian O'Neill, and Kevin O'Donovan. And Paul, you wouldn't need to be Albert Einstein to figure out who's going to be player of the week this week.
There's only one Rian O'Neill. He's everybody's darling at the minute. He's, you know, 2 man of the matches in a row, 1-7. You know, right foot, left foot, penalties. You know, his performance yesterday just about had it all. And then I suppose you can say that, but Rory Grugan probably come in under the radar. He hit one.
Sure, yeah.
The second fastest goal in the championship at 10.2 seconds. I think they timed it on the Sunday game last night. So, you know, he had a fantastic game too. Young Sexton, is it? I think.
Keelan Sexton, Clare, yeah.
Sexton, you know, 2-6. Wow. You know what I mean? Fine performance. You know, so a lot of very good performances over the weekend, and very impressive. I thought, what do you call him? Young Potter at the back for Cork.
Oh, Sean Powter, yeah.
Powter, he was very good coming through.
He was full back
last night we've seen. Yeah, I like his all action style. I like the way he gets in there, puts his body in the lane, comes out of tackles. I don't know how he managed to get a hand in, an elbow in, and he seems to come out with the ball, and he just loves getting in there and getting the ball away, and he done it very effectively yesterday. You know, great performances all over the field and on all games yesterday. And but as a fellow clubman, we'd love to see Rian getting the few accolades there.
Yeah, no, Rian was absolutely superb yesterday. I think he's really taken this kind of leadership role, and was I'm the best player in the team role to an absolute T. And I think me and you were talking off air. What I really liked about O'Neill yesterday, the confidence just before the ball's been thrown in, he gives Michael Murphy a shove. Right, Michael, I'm here. I'm dominated. Wins the throw up. Paul, obviously, you said that was vitally important because that's a vital thing to do. Gets the ball, pumps it into the Armagh full forward line. Rory Gurkin back in it. Bang. What a start, Paul.
Yeah, we couldn't hope for a better start, I suppose, with goal in 10 seconds. But I think when you look at what happened, the two other midfielders, Crayley collided, and then Rian just managed to get up, get the ball ahead of Murphy, and then it could have been a free. The referee could have blew the free, but he put the hand up and let the ball go in. But a lot to be said for the way the goal come about. I think was the trajectory of the ball that Rian put in. He has great angle and a spinner off the right foot, and it comes in a lovely angle of a ball coming across, and then Rory just seemed to make like a dart out in front and managed to catch it in front of his defender. And by God, did he pick out the top corner? Lovely.
It was definitely that, like Kieran Donny, I know he's doing serious work with the Armagh lads, and obviously you've more ears to the ground, Paul, but that definitely was worked in the training ground during the week, surely.
Yeah, listen, it's something that even down through the years in Armagh, we
common sense.
Worked on. Yeah, like if you win the throw up, bang the ball in to the full forward and see what happens. Just test them out straight away. Because
Donegal couldn't have expected that, surely not that soon in the game.
No, maybe they didn't, because they didn't seem to have too many bodies back. I know it's probably the perfect time to do it because everybody's actually in their positions for the throw up. You have a full back line, you have a half back line, midfield, half forward, full forward. So you haven't got the mass defence, and then you can have a couple of matchups in there who are good in the air. And Rory is, and for a guy that isn't particularly big in stature, he is quite good in the air, and he managed to feel that ball superbly. Took it down, and in one motion he curled it into the top corner. It was fantastic. But as you say, I'm sure Kieran Donaghy has a big influence on that thing. You can see the way he played the ball. But when Kieran Donaghy was playing, it was the ball that went into him that made the catch, if you understand. Like he had really good forwards or players, midfielders, forwards, Declan O'Sullivan, all them guys pumping in real good, Tomas O'Shea, putting in that lovely sort of spinner of a ball, which is very catchable, not a torpedo coming at you too hard, which could bounce anywhere. It was a lovely ball for a really good fielder of the ball to catch, and that makes the trick that wee bit easier to pull off. And I'm sure, as a very good and exceptional full forward, Kieran was, he's telling the boys the particular way of ball and the flight of ball that is handy to catch in there and maybe get a chance at, which worked superbly well. And you can see that ball going in from an Armagh point of view. Not every time, but there's enough variation in it to keep the thing honest at the back for Donegal too.
Yeah, definitely. It was a superb start for the Armagh. I suppose there is only one place to start the game of the weekend. Paul was obviously a very convincing win for Armagh in the end. We didn't expect it, but a great performance. So we'll start off with the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship quarter-final round 2 yesterday in Clones. It was Armagh 3-12, Donegal 16 points. And I suppose, Paul, obviously we were talking off air, you didn't get to the game yourself, you were working, so obviously you got the highlights and I suppose the majority of the game. What was your thoughts on Clones yesterday?
Yeah, I managed to watch on telly. I was home in time for telly, but it was good to see. There's any, I suppose, if you're not at the game, try and study it and no one around you, except all everyone's going mad. It was, it was great to get the first goal earlier. But as soon as that first goal went earlier, even the wife said to me, just remember Tyrone last week. They got the goal very early, and then Armagh come back on them. And then what sort of happened then after that was, Donegal turned on the afterburners and knocked off 5 and 6 points in a row. And then you were going, geez, how do we stem this tide? Well, Armagh have to stop these guys. And then, as you say, the leadership role within the team, probably the likes of Rory and the likes of Rian, Charlie Oak, managed to get the game back with the scruff of the neck and come back at it. So we didn't let them get too far away. It was, 6-3 or 7-4 at one stage, but then we managed to get the scores to get us back into the game and drag ourselves back into the lead before half time.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, and I suppose, like, as I was saying to you off air, like Donegal really did look like they kind of clawed their way back in, and like, in fairness, the response to the Rio Unique goal was actually superb, and probably a response you nearly didn't expect from Donegal. McBurdy was flying, Murphy kicked some outrageous scores, but then the second half kind of went on. Armagh really got a grip of it and probably went to town really on Donegal, and rightly so from the way to set up. So it was just, I know obviously maybe 16 points probably maybe flatters Donegal a bit, Paul. But did you expect that Donegal performance in the second half, or were the heads a bit gone, or
It's hard to know where that sort of performance came from. Like Donegal were flying in that middle section of the first half, and as you say, uncharacteristically were kicking over points. McBurdy flew through just from outside inside the 45. Thompson hit over a couple of clinkers. Owen Bowen Gallagher, knocking over these sort of high risk scores from well outside the so-called scoring zone, and they managed to be hitting them, hit them beautifully and executed it lovely. And then that second half, Armagh just really went to town. You didn't see that coming from Donegal. Armagh just seemed to be able to, retain possession, get the scores when it mattered. And it sort of reminded you, dare I say it, of a wee bit Dublin-esque in the good old days where Armagh were holding on possession for maybe 50, 60, 70 seconds. And, it wasn't a case where we were losing possession. We were coming up at scores at the end of that possession. We were biding our time. We managed to find the gap, find a pass, and end up with what you want from them sort of possession, long periods of possession is a score. And that's a real downer for the opposite team when you hold on to possession like that for so long, and you're running around after shadows. And they really did sort of what Armagh were like in the first game against Donegal, where we didn't manage to get a hand on them. There wasn't much contact. They didn't really capitalise on the first half performance, but that probably comes from where Armagh. They didn't take the ball into contact. They shifted the ball before they got hit, and they managed to run off the shoulder and find a pocket of space and then pick off points. And as you say, they got the right players on the ball, like Rian chipping in with 1-7, Rory Griggan 1-3, Charlie Oak, 3 points. It was impressive enough shooting. But I think what is probably goes under the microscope a wee bit, it was probably the performance of probably Jason Duffy and Nugent. They were, while against their own, they were really penetrative and got in through and dodged tackles. They did the similar bit of horse work yesterday and got through an awful lot of work. But they seemed to create space for the other guys coming through as well for creating their scores. So the full forward line, half forward line, done particularly well yesterday again. And it was a very impressive performance now.
Yeah, no, kind of from start to finish was very good. And I suppose, obviously, like the game itself, like, and I know obviously couldn't have Donegal a lot of pressure on Declan Bonner to kind of get over the line, yes, and obviously probably could have put a bit of pressure on Kieran McGeeney as well. And obviously McGeeney stood up the play and got the win for the Armagh lads. So look, maybe could have been a case of during the week, like, kind of playing for the manager, because obviously McGeeney, we all know about how much of a legend he is in Armagh circles. Paul, like, playing for the manager, that bit of determination to get over the line and say, right, we're Armagh, we're Division 1, let's stake a claim here.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that's the way a management sort of structure has to be. You have to get everybody, as I say, singing off the one hymn sheet. You have to create a culture in the team. You have to create a bond between the lads that everybody can buy into. And if you can get that connection and that sort of buy-in from the players and from the team, and everybody wants to push themselves as hard as they can while creating a sort of a friendship. And I think it's stuff that sort of we had back in the noughties, where you're this sort of tight-knit group where, nothing can come between you and your target and your goal, or between your performance. And that's what Kieran's created there. You can see that sort of coming to the fore now, and all the, you can see the way even Kieran Donegal has been talking this last couple of times in the media that, he talks very enthusiastically about the team and about, praising the fellas. And, that comes from a sort of satisfaction with how the boys is doing and how they're buying into what the guys have brought to the table from the management side of things. And you can see it's working. You can see they're all chomping at the bit. They're hungry for work. They're hungry to get a good performance. And that 6 weeks between obviously Ballybuffet and the Athletic Grounds of Tyrone, there was serious probably words and and stuff probably done and spoken, and the nitty-gritty worked out of it, so that they could just have themselves in the right frame of mind to come up with physically that the performances aren't beyond any team, but it's probably a mental thing of actually delivering on the day, and they seem to have hit the right note at the right time.
Probably clearly obvious yesterday. But what was the kind of big difference in the performance from, say, yesterday to 6 weeks ago, as you were rightly saying, in Ballybuffet a few weeks ago? Because look, it really was day and night, and obviously, Armagh didn't really arrive at the party 6 weeks ago, but by God, they arrived at the party yesterday, Paul, from start to finish. So the big differences.
I think what the big difference I sort of thought would have been that, while all the probably heart and endeavour would have been there the first day against, just there was something off. Maybe they had probably too much of a lay-in into Donegal, and there could have been a bit of an information overload and too much expectation. And then, I suppose that when you get a defeat like that, there
wakes you up.
And it broke up the whole thing, and it takes everything down to a certain level, and then you sort of reset yourself. And then, it comes into the management and what they are bringing them them couple of weeks. They had probably the advantage was they had the few weeks for lads to sort of get over the disappointment, have a good long hard look at themselves and see, listen, this isn't us, this isn't our game. What can we do wrong here? What are we doing wrong, and what can we do to fix it? And they had that time to sort of discover that, we are better than this. Look at what we've done in the league. Look what we did in spells during the league as well, and what we can perform to a really high level that is competitive. So that's down to management, and you have to probably put praise on the management how they brought that around. And listen, that Donegal and Ballybuffet, as I said before, I didn't think they probably didn't bring as much intensity to the thing. They didn't bring, tackles, hits, dispossessions, turnovers. It wasn't really there, and by that, when you get them turnovers and you make them tackles, you not only do you lift your teammates and everybody around you, you lift the crowd, and you can see that the Armagh crowd is really bought into backing the team, and they've been very noisy in the last couple of days, and I think it took that Tyrone performance to get the supporters maybe online, and you need to bring even the supporters along with you as well, because they could be that 16th man on the pitch be times, and you heard how noisy they were yesterday. It was great to hear an Armagh support in a noisy and such a great atmosphere. So there's a whole lot of things after a feat like that there which can help you reset and maybe refocus and come at the thing from a different angle to try and propel yourself to a better performance. And they've done that, and then they've carried it on to a week later, and we find ourselves now in a quarter-final of the All-Ireland.
Fully merited as well, Paul. I suppose, obviously from the Donegal point of view, and I know obviously a lot of the pundits, Sean Cavan and Colin O'Rourke, were maybe kind of saying that it could be the end of the road for the likes of Ryan McHugh and Paddy McBurdy, but I can't see that, because them boys are only 29 years of age, of a couple of years, but maybe Michael Murphy and maybe Neil McGee and some of the older guard, Paul. But look, I suppose maybe a bit of a shake-up maybe is needed at this stage. Declan Bonner, Stephen Rochford's been there a couple of years, but maybe the end of the road for Declan Bonner, Paul. But it just did look very flat yesterday. I know obviously the last couple of loads of final appearances haven't gone over the line, 10 the last 12 years. But look, Paul, at the end of the day, it's a results-based business, and there's no doubt going to be a lot of pressure on Mr. Bonner now for the next couple of days.
Undoubtedly so. As you say, it is results-based, and the results just haven't really come for Donegal. Unfortunately, they got beat in the Ulster final, and they have only got to a couple of quarterfinals, and that since probably won the Ireland the last time. And there was a lot expected of Donegal over the last few years. It wasn't that long ago they've been tipped to be the only team that could sort of challenge Dublin. That never really came to fruition. Murphy, unfortunately, Michael Murphy, who's been a wonderful footballer. He's at the tail end of what is a glorious career of what he's had. But as you say, I can't see them boys pulling the pin. I don't know what they're talking about. At 29 years of age, as you say, you're at the pick of your powers. You know what I mean? You expect them boys to play on till 33, 2, 3, 4, whatever. There'd be no problem for that. So, but you'd like to think, if there could be a change of guard, would it bring a freshness to the thing? Rochford, a really highly regarded coach. Where did it go from here? Who would put their hand up? I'm sure there's plenty of men would put their hand up in the Donegal circles for that job, because there is a lot to work with there. And maybe if they bring maybe a fresh approach to the thing, they could get another couple of years out of this team. It's hard to know who would put the hand up to see who would want it, but I wouldn't be writing off the Donegal current area just yet. As you say, them key players are not at the end of their career yet. There is a few seasons in them yet. They go back, they settle down, refresh, reset, and think about next season again. They'll be thereabouts again next year, because they don't become bad footballers overnight.
I think it's quite premature, but it'd just be interesting to see maybe the future on the management team, and maybe just get a few new men involved. But then I suppose the lads coming up from maybe the underage setups doesn't seem to be overly there for Donegal, so it'll just be interesting to see now the next couple of days and weeks what lies ahead. And I suppose looking ahead, obviously for Armagh, Paul, probably the sky is the limit at this stage really, and it'll be interesting to see where this journey takes them. A win over Galway was definitely not beyond the realms of possibility, Paul. So it could be an exciting year yet.
Yeah, listen, I'm a keen preparer of taking one game at a time. Always was, and that's the only way I would approach any game. So, it's all eyes on the Galway game now. And listen, at this stage of the game, you're talking. You've avoided the big guns, as in Dublin and Kerry, and probably Mayo to a certain extent as well. So they're probably the top three, and the rest, the ones on this side of the draw, are probably in the ones flagging behind them. So it's up to these players and these teams to try and put performances in the next couple of games to try and propel themselves into a possibility of getting to a final without hitting the big guns. So it is there for the likes of Armagh. It is there for Galway. And it is there for Derry. I'd say Derry would, as we probably alluded to earlier, that would have too much for Clare. But listen, we can't really dare to dream at this stage. You do run the back of your head that there's a possibility of getting to a final there if you play your cards right. But therein lays the trap. You have to play your cards right. You can't be straying too far ahead. You have to play what's in front of you, as they say. And Galway are a formidable team. They've won the Connacht title. They've played fairly well over there. And Pádraig Joyce has been there, done that, knows football and knows Galway football inside out. So he and Geezer will be fairly great too. Over the years with the Ireland team and that there. They're good lads, the two of them. So we'll certainly have. There's a lot of back stories and side stories to this meeting between the two teams, and we even had Big Joe over there managing as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on from the two teams. But listen, it's definitely not, as you say, within the rounds of possibility. Armagh turning in some good performances, but we have to go and back that up again. It's been I suppose the thing is, Galway have been a few weeks off the boil since they won the Connacht title. Armagh have a wee bit of momentum now. They've put in two good performances now. They have 2 weeks between this game, so a bit more recovery for them than from last week. The 2 weeks seems to be a good sort of balance between games, and hopefully Armagh can use that, get the recovery in, maybe get a couple of players right. Young Mackin might get back into the fray. There is a few injuries with Armagh between Oisin O'Neill missing, Mackin missing, a couple other guys, and hopefully we'll have a few more options available to us, because as you've seen, it takes everybody coming on. I've seen young Turbot coming on yesterday, scoring a couple of points. Jamar Hall coming in, getting stuck in. It takes all these men to come in and to finish the game off when 50, 60 minutes gazes after going hell for leather. And, they are flagging at that stage. You do need to freshen up, and it is a 20-man game, as we know, at this level. So, it's looking up for Armagh. We're hopeful, but as I say, we don't want that expectation to smother or drown the players or anything like that. There, you need to be going in with a fresh sort of momentum and keep it one game at a time and one performance at a time.
Word on Kieran McGeeney as well, Paul. And I know to kind of talk going into that game, and I know Rian O'Neill said it after the game yesterday, but following up and getting back-to-back performances, Armagh have done that. So a word on Mr. McGeeney, because obviously you would have played with him and against him, Paul. So he badly, I suppose, deserves and needed this kind of run in the championship.
Yeah, for sure. Like if it all had to go heads up, probably against Tyrone, there'd be a lot of people probably calling for his head and for change, and it isn't working and that there. So, he's obviously worked very hard in the week since the Ballybuffet game. He's struck a tone with the players. He's got them into the right frame of mind, and as I said earlier, a lot of credit has to go to the management for swinging around, because Armagh, it was very disappointing after Ballybuffet. It was basically 7 points in the championship. It's pretty much a hammering. So to turn that around, to dump the All Ireland champions out, which was very sweet. There's no other way. We like beating Tyrone and Armagh, and especially to dethrone them as All Ireland champions, even sweeter. But anyway,
keep rubbing it in. Keep rubbing it.
Yeah. We'll keep that one, and then obviously Donegal, who have beaten us twice in a row already this year. So, we came into them games, with something to prove, with a chip on the shoulder, and that's the way probably our Armagh teams have to play, with something to prove and a chip on the shoulder, and maybe someone backing down the back of our neck and getting a bit of criticism. So we like that bit of stick. So after all the praise, we're after getting to these 2 games now, and that's just going to be level at them, and they're going to be put on a pedestal, but they have to come down from that there and try and, as I said maybe earlier, reset again and really look at the target again with a fresh set of eyes, and try and get that level of performance again, and not get carried away in the hysteria which will undoubtedly follow the team, with the Armagh fans thinking it's a handy way to a final, but there's nothing handy in an All-Ireland quarter-final.
Yeah, I think Galway will be a very stiff test, but that is yesterday's action wrapped up nicely. So Armagh move on now to the All-Ireland quarter-finals, and moving on to the other game that took place yesterday, Paul, in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. It was Cork 2-18, Limerick 1-16. Cork just about getting over the line, Paul. In a good game. We definitely probably didn't hold out much hope for this being a classic. It turned out to be a very good game, and on Stephen Sherlock and Brian Hurley go to the All-Ireland quarter-final, Paul.
Yeah, listen, it seemed to be a very good game there in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, a fine stadium. One I'd love to visit since it was done up. It seems a great spot to play. Cork probably, under the cosh a bit with the man, John Cleary. He knows he's into the quarter final now. He's done well, and he's some impressive performances there. Yes, the young Porter doing particularly well. I keep mixing his name up.
Sean Powder.
Sean Powder. But yeah, they've done well. But I think there was a couple of swings and roundabouts in the game. I think the black card of I can't think of his name yesterday. Me and names is a disaster. I think the black card probably swung it a wee bit for Cork, and I think it was coming into half time. Was it?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. And then there was a sending off of your man, I think Paul Walsh, and it sort of swung the thing in a wee bit in Cork's favour, and they managed to get the couple of goals at the perfect time. And Limerick, to all their credit, done particularly well. Hitting 116 is will win a lot of games in championship football, but unfortunately they didn't really get the result that the performance merited.
Definitely. I suppose, obviously, Cork into an All-Ireland quarter-final, after all these years, Paul, back where they really should be, and I know it'll be so important for them to build blocks, and obviously we know the talents of Brian Hurley and Sherlock. I know Sherlock's been named in Team of the Week, got man of the match as well. So, look, to come up against the Dubs in the next round in the quarter-final, Paul, but look, it's good to build blocks for a county, the population the size of Cork. Yeah,
listen, they've been probably underperforming in the football senses for a good few seasons now, and it's a pity because they really have strong clubs down there with likes of Mayo and all them boys always performing fairly well. And then to go back to the Kerry game where they probably performed really, really well for 40 to 50 minutes. The Kerry didn't really run away with it until the last 20 minutes when probably Cork ran out of steam, and then put in a good performance. But then to get the Dubs then in the quarter final, it's going to be a real hard job for them to get them, but listen, they have to come up with a plan. They have to knuckle down and hopefully do something probably similar to what they done against Kerry. And if they can hold out the Dubs for 40, 50 minutes, are the Dubs as good as the Kerry team? Who knows? Maybe they could put them a wee bit closer to the pin of their collar if they play the right tune on the day. So listen, they have a lot of pluses going forward, with that Kerry performance. back a few weeks ago, and then they got a good win against Limerick. So it mightn't be just the drubbing maybe everybody is thinking it could be. So when you look
Okay.
back at that, they can compete for so long against a particularly good Kerry team that's been touted for the championship. So it'll be interesting to see how they set up and how they go forward in Croke Park against the Dubs.
There we go. That's very positive now for the Cork supporters watching this, Paul. I think they'll probably be getting a lot of negative comments coming into that game. So I think Paul Hearty's after hopefully putting a smile on all their faces. Word on Billy Lee, obviously, Paul. He's done absolutely unbelievable work with the Limerick lads. He's had a great year with them. So it's obviously a hurling strong county. He's put football on the map, Paul.
Yeah, he's done a really good job, and you can probably feel from a wee bit that the hurling has been going so well for Limerick, and they're top of the three at the hurling for so long now. But to come in and probably not have the players, I'm sure there's a lot of dual players out there who probably have decided to go with the hurling that there, and he hasn't really probably had the top selection of all the players in the county. But you just imagine if he could maybe have pipped a win yesterday if he had a few more options available to him. But he's done extremely well in his time there, and going forward, you have to go back to the leagues and try and get out of the division again. Get probably the Munster Championship a wee bit more competitive. It is Kerry's as usual, and Cork hasn't been performing either. So the two of them teams have a lot of work to do in the next few seasons to probably gather up a bit of momentum. Improve their performances and improve their setup, and as I say, Billy's done a good job, but there's a lot of work to do down there as well to try and catch up with the kingdom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But obviously, fair play to the Limerick lads, and on Cork go to the All-Ireland qualifier in 2 weeks' time against the Dubs. So we'll move on to Saturday's action, Paul. In the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship qualifiers round 2, it was Mayo 2-13, Kildare 14 points, and Jesus, Paul, I don't know what you say about these Mayo lads at this stage. I think I tweeted on Saturday saying they're like the lad at the house party that won't F off, Paul, but look, they keep coming back, and I don't know how to keep doing it, Paul. By God, they find ways to win games.
Yeah, and that's a sign of a great team. When you're looking at the game on Saturday and you're seeing Kildare bringing all the work, all the intensity, coming up with all the answers and chipping in the scores. I think they went, 11-5 or 11-6 in the lead, and shoot the lights out, and Flynn up front. Just you can't nothing but like Darryl Flynn. He's a fantastic footballer the way, he just seems to go past players, and he's been really, really, really good.
I think Kev said Daniel Flynn was like Claude Van Damme. Big
Sean Claude Van Damme and Darryl Flynn. Yeah, he's a mountain of a man. Like he's got all, as a manager once said, if you could cut out a player and how you want him to look, you'd cut out a picture of Daniel Flynn. Yeah,
true.
He's a fine. Yeah, he's all going from But I think at 11-5, you didn't think there was a way back for Mayo in this match, and
I have no idea how to do it.
They just really, when it came to it, when you think, your Lee Kagans, your O'Hara's, they really come to the fore, and it was unbelievable the way it actually, and you think their subs come on, in fairness to Horan, he changed it about a bit, and Boland come on, and McHale come on, and Jordan Flynn come on, he got a goal, and Boland got a couple of pints, and Oisin Mullen's goal, my God, what
brilliant!
They ripped the net open. You couldn't ask for anything more, and they just seemed to claw themselves back. And once you seen them coming back, the game was up for Kildare. They had really pushed the boat out, performed, went as hard as they could for as long as they could, and then sort of the wheels sort of come off on them, unfortunately. And then the lob goal at the end, which
he tried. Yeah, did he mean that?
I think he was probably aiming for the crossbar. if it was over, well and good. It's just because the keeper was out. You know what I mean? But what's wrong was when the keeper went out, there's no one back to cover. Like we had, Ethan Rafferty come out last week. It was against Tyrone, but we had Conor Mackin sort of back covering. They didn't cover back when the lost possession got the turnover. So they were scrambling.
Yeah,
it was just gone beyond them.
Yeah, no, it's funny because it's to say that I think Kyle Coney kind of tweeted saying that he didn't mean to do it, but I think the way Flynn set up the shoot, and apparently, obviously you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if any listener can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's Kieran McDonald's son, Jordan Flynn. Yeah, so there you go. So the audacious.
The name doesn't give it away.
Yeah. So related through the Mickey or whatever it is, but. But
you're on it again.
But yeah, he in fairness, the audacious, if he is I suppose the son of I know there's a god out there, but McDonald's the god.
Left foot, the level greatest pitch.
But there's two gods in the GA, and one of them is Peter Calvin, and the other is Kieran McDonald.
Yeah, what a player! And if he has a bit of the genetics there, as I say. So delicately put, as might I add.
You've too much manners. You've better manners than me, Paul.
if we seen Kieran McDonald doing it, you'd be saying he went for it. So listen, sure. We'll take him that he was going for it at this stage. And,
I think he was, yeah.
But listen, it was a fine comeback, and as you say, Mayo, they're not going away. They've quality all over the field. You know, like Killian O'Connor and Enda Hessian and all these boys like that. They're fine players, and they just didn't seem to get it going. But once they got going and they smelled blood in that final 15 or 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was, they just went to town and smelled blood, and they just took the game with the scruff of the neck.
But is it up front, Paul, that they will kind of struggle? Like, because obviously I know Killian O'Connor is trying his best, and by all accounts, but it's just I know Enda Heston and Aidan Orme kind of came on. Like, but like, is that going to be enough down the stretch to win an All Ireland, Paul?
No, it won't be enough, because obviously it was most of the defence came up and sort of rescued the forwards. I think you're talking like Boland come on and scored 2, and McHale come on and scored 1, and Jordan Flynn got the goal. So, and what do you call it? Killian O'Connor got 3 points. Carney got 1. Loftus got 1. They're chipping in 1s and 2s. There's no one doing what I suppose if we're comparing with Armagh.
Greenhill.
1-9 or 1-7, sorry, and then Rory Grugan got 3 points or 1-3, and their forwards seem to be clicking, whereas the Mayo boys they're relying on probably the defenders. They're having that star forward. Although Killian O'Connor is a star, surely to God, but he's just not firing on all cylinders in a minute. But they'll need more from their forward unit going forward, and they're probably lucky that Kildare probably just ran the legs themselves and tailed off at the end, and then obviously Mayo are in fantastic condition to be able to see it out in the last 10 or 15 minutes.
And a word obviously on Kildare as well. I was saying to Aaron Prendergast last week when we were talking about this game, and I was kind of saying like it's about time Kildare kind of get a big win in the championship. All the plans are placed, getting Ryan, Johnny Doyle, Dermot Early, Paul Galvin is the forwards coach, Paul. So I wouldn't say now or never, but like it is kind of about time Kildare do put a stamp down in a game. And I was watching that game on Saturday, I was really thinking to myself, Kildare could have went on and won it. They didn't win it. They don't really have a chance really of winning the Leinster Championship now really for the next few years, Paul. So they're a Division 1 team,
Yeah, the Division 1, and there were very encouraging signs during the league. They did come up with some good performances. Got a couple of good wins under their belt, and dangerous. You know what I mean? They've been fairly dangerous and consistent enough throughout the league. So they're not on Dublin's level, but obviously they're probably the next best team in Leinster going forward. And through the qualifiers was the way to maybe get a scalp and to put themselves in a great position the other day, but unfortunately just could not finish it out.
I can't understand how they couldn't win on Saturday. Like, I think that was a huge chance because, like, I'm kind of saying in the group chat to you and Twitter, whatever, like, Mayo haven't been impressive this year. So I think Saturday was a huge opportunity, Paul, for that scalp.
Yeah, if there was any team to probably catch Mayo, it was then, because they had the hard work done. They put in the performance, 11-5 up, going into that, going in and going forward, and Mayo seemed to be clueless and didn't seem to have any rudder or shape or direction where they were going. You couldn't see them in the second half chipping in with what scored in the second half. They scored like another 2 2-7 in the second half. They were 11-5 down, so they were on scored 2-7. So it was some second half or second 40 minutes from the Mayo lads. But if they ever, Kildare just seemed at vital times when Mayo were coming back, and they got a couple of players shots short, a couple of tailed wide on the left post. I can't remember a few of the boys who were shooting, but just certain chances that they didn't put away at certain times where they need to be a wee bit more ruthless and they need to be a wee bit more efficient in their shot selection. And they had them chances possibly, because if they chip in with them points at them times, it would have dented away at Mayo's resilience. But then again, as you say, Mayo just won't go away, and they come back going and come up with the goods again and blew them away. And all credit to them as well for not down in tools.
Kerry the next day, Paul. Like that's definitely going to be a big stiff test. We see what way the league final ended up, and I know a lot has changed since then. But look, like a last 10-15 performance against Kerry will not cut the bacon, Paul.
It will if they're only a point down. But if they let Kerry do what Kildare did to them the other day, they'll not be anywhere near them. The game will be over. But the thing about Mayo is they always seem to come up with the performance when they play a bigger team. Maybe they were a wee bit complacent yesterday and they didn't just show up. But then when they needed to, and everybody put their shoulder to the wheel, and they swung the game around. But they can't afford to do that to Kerry. They'll need to be on it from the start. But what invariably happens is that Mayo they show up, and what a better way of going into a game against Kerry than having underperformed for 70% of the game against Kildare. Your big players, Lee Keegan, and Lang, all them guys, they didn't really perform to what we know they're capable of. They did certainly for a certain amount of time, but going in with that sort of damn squib performance and coming out the other side with a win, they're in the perfect position. They're underdogs again. That's the way they love it. And Mayo in quarterfinals and semi-finals has been the best version of Mayo we've seen. The finals, they've lost all the finals, as we know, unfortunately for them. But Mayo in a quarterfinal and a semi-final are always a very dangerous animal.
It'd be very interesting to see can they up their game for the Kerry game. No doubt they will, but Christ, fair play to them. I just don't know where to get the result from. But there you go. They on to go to the quarterfinal, and Kildare go. And moving on to the other qualifiers that was on Saturday in Croke Park, it was Clare 2-17, Roscommon 1-17, and I suppose, Paul, probably one of the bigger upsets of the weekend. An unbelievable performance by Colin Collins' men. Roscommon and Cruz controlled for large parts of the game, but Anthony Cunningham went home with the tails between his legs.
He did indeed, and I think everybody thought that game Roscommon would come out of it, because Roscommon have been knocking on the door of good performances in Connacht. They're probably tipped for maybe a Connacht title earlier in the year. Didn't perform where they usually can. They have been there or thereabouts in recent years, but they probably would have been. It would have been, if you're a betting man, you would have been putting the money on them to.
I did. They were the ones to let me down.
You see, keep your money in your pocket.
Should have.
Not me mentioning a betting man. I'm not a betting man really, but it's just a word per se, isn't it? But listen, you would have tipped them surely to come up with the result against Clare, but obviously they didn't. Clare different ideas, I suppose, especially when you go out on a man that's possessed as Keelan Sexton, to come up with 2-6. Wow, like 5 frees and a penalty, and then the rest of play, he's done very well. And Clare went to the well, and it took them to the 75th minute to come up with a result, and Jamie Malone getting a winning point in 75th minute. Like, there'd be some crackdown in Clare now, I'd say, the other night after that performance, but. Roscommon got into the last 2 minutes. I think there were 5 points up, and then for Clare to score 1-3 without response in that, and up to the 75th minute, like, wow, what a turnaround. You know what I mean? It just goes to show
Lazarus
playing to the final whistle and not down in tools, go the whole hog until the fat lady's singing. It just typifies sport, that you should never give up. It's always possible. You never know what might happen, and 1-3 in the final 7 minutes against a decent team in Roscommon was absolutely superb. Who would have seen it?
God, yeah, and in fairness, out of all the 4 teams to let me down, I definitely was not expecting it to be Roscommon 100%. I thought, because I backed Hughes against Donegal, and I didn't know what way that game was going to go, but for that game to let me down.
Well,
but...
you didn't back us in the group chat. You're humming and blowing against Donegal. The wheels have come off this Armagh team. Yes. See, the best thing with them WhatsApp groups is the history's there. And we can go back and have a wee look and then just replay and point it out.
Thank God
your fingers up at you.
Thank God of the admin. I rule the roost, Paul. I rule the roost.
You can delete all messages.
Oh God, the way my shirts are going the last while. But honestly, like on Roscommon, Paul, like they'll have to be very disappointed with this. Like obviously they were kind of going in as slight underdogs into the Connacht final a few weeks ago. They're out of the championship. That was a very winnable game on Saturday. Anticonin will be disappointed, and Tony Smith was only brought on, so even the stuff coming from the bench wasn't great, Paul.
Yeah, well, I suppose they got young Hughes got a point off the bench, and Tony Smith got 2 and 1 a free. So they got 3 points off the bench. But if you're coasting in, 5 up with 2 minutes to go, you should be seeing out a game a team that's as experienced as Roscommon. There's the talk about, you hear all these teams talking about game management. Didn't really manage the game that well in the last. If you're 5 up in the last couple of minutes and then you go on to concede 1-3, you're not really shutting up shop or trying to slow the game down or get someone go down for an injury, waste a bit of time, a bit of cute tourism, shall we say? That should have been coming into the Roscommon players. Psyche at that stage, because 5 points up, you shouldn't be losing the game with 2 minutes to go with 5 points up if you're as a team that's half decent as Roscommon, especially cause you to lose a few pounds. But it's very disappointing. Cunningham will be very disappointed, and the players will be very disappointed. But listen, all credit goes to Clare for coming up and hanging in there and chipping in 1-3,
Unbelievable,
unreal and fair dues to him. And listen, you see him, excuse me, talking about in his post-match interview, he does the fear no one, bring them on. So, he's confident enough in his team and what he has, and they're gonna give it their all in the quarter-final. But listen, it's a big step up again.
Yeah, word in Colm Collins as well, Paul. In fairness, he's getting a lot of plaudits, and rightly so. Like working with the Clare lads, and obviously it's a hurling strong county, make no doubt about it, Paul. So he's done tremendous work. No airs of graces. Seems like an absolute gentleman, Paul. So fair play to him.
Yeah, listen, he's there. He took over in 2013, and he's won a good few championship matches. I think it's 32. He's won 16 wins in 32 championship games under Collins. So you know what I mean. That's a 1 win every 2. So it's quite a good enough statistic for
Mr. Statsman, Paul.
What isn't a football in county, shall we say? But I missed the stats. I don't know that. That's Pat Spillane. He loves the stats. But it's good to read up on these things and because you wouldn't really read into too much about teams and stats and years gone by. But that's quite good for a non-footballing county, and he's done particularly well with that group of players. And listen, he has them in. I think they're in the quarterfinals back in 2016. Before I think it's 2016.
I think so.
So back another one now, 6 years later. So he's it's a non-footballing county quarterfinal last year at the footballing championship. They have nothing to lose again. They can go in, hold the head up high, and try and perform to the best ability and give as good a account of themselves as they possibly can.
Derry in an All-Ireland quarter-final now in 2 weeks' time, Paul. That'll be a game to look forward to. Colm Collins will definitely be aimed towards it. Rory Gallagher's probably, getting the troops rallied for it already, Paul. So, look, a game to look forward to. Obviously, Derry going in as favourites. Roscommon were the favourites last day, so it definitely suits Colm Collins and Clare.
Yeah, listen, there's nothing to lose. They're going against Derry, those the champions. We see how the thing is, not being winning a championship for so long, Derry, they'll have they would have partied for a wee bit, I'm sure. But listen, it's a good enough long run in for them for the provincial champions to get that out of the system. I'm sure Rory will know the crack. He's obviously coached at Donegal and been used to running like that there. Excuse me. So he lived them back down off their hay horse as quickly as possible, back down working hard down in Derry. And I was actually away. There's a small tangent here. I was away just after the wee fella's confirmation. We were staying up in Limerick Valley, and the Derry players happened to be staying in the same hotel. So
Okay.
I managed to have a couple of cracks with a few of the boys, and good lads and nice fellas, and they all really seem to be in good form and looking forward. It was actually just a week before the Ulster final, and a nice group of fellas you could meet, all very chatty and all had a crack and a hello for everybody. So
you'll never have as many medals as me, boys.
I didn't say that.
Who knows?
Fuck's sake. But good crack with him, good crack with Rory and that there, and it just took me back to the days when we were playing and used to be sitting around hotels and getting good feeds and you had nothing else to concentrate about on your football. And yeah, great times, But no, it all seemed to be very chilled out and looking forward to the games that were coming ahead. But yeah, they look good. They look the real deal, Derry. They've been coming forward, and they were probably a wee bit hard done by last year against Donegal, and then they went out this year and really proved their point, and a game that went right through the extra time, and they came through that. So they have a lot of things going for them. Derry, they've a good brand of football. And also final, I think probably that game didn't do them justice, as it was so edgy and so tight and very defensive and very tactical, and them sort of games and with the pressure on and it being so long can sort of get under the skin of players, and you don't generally perform to the best. So this is a chance for Derry probably to go out and shake the shackles off. They've nothing to lose. They have their Ulster title. Go out and play football to the best of their ability, and they have really, really good footballers there, and they have a good group for 1 to 15 and 16 to 20, to go on, and they'll be as confident as anybody going forward into a quarter final and see how far they can get. And especially, Rory's getting a lot of plaudits as well for the way he takes care of his teams and looks after the lads, and they'll have no fear going forward either.
Yeah, well, definitely not, Paul. They will definitely not. You kind of sense from Mr. Gallagher that he wants more, so it'll be very interesting to follow Derry's progress into the All-Ireland Series, Paul. So moving on to this weekend's action in the Tailteann Cup semi-finals. You've Sligo against Cavan, Croke Park, 1:45 on Armagh. So I suppose Cavan, strong favourites to win this competition out, Paul. That'll be a stiff test against Tony McEntee's Sligo, so look forward to that game Sunday.
Sligo by 10, without a shadow of a doubt. Cavan have an out.
I'll be hearing that all week.
You're going to get a bit of grief this week for Cavan. Yeah, listen.
Cavan.
It's Cavan, Cavan. Yeah, listen. Well, where is the game? It's up in Croke, or is it?
Croke Park, here we go.
Yeah, you will just pay for the diesel to get down the road.
Oh, I tell you, I thought we needed directions, Paul. No.
I know, Jesus. You were there a while ago. You were there last year, wasn't you?
No. League 4 semi-final.
Oh yes, that's right as well. You know your way rightly. But I know it's the diesel you won't pay for. It's €2, €2.06 there for diesel. Hey,
$2.12, hey, huh?
Hey, that's petrol.
Smuggle some in, huh?
Yeah. I wouldn't know much about that. I go straight to the pump.
Oh, yeah, you're doing your...
Hey.
Go on.
But listen, football. Listen, I think you'd probably have to go with Cavan as favourites for this one. Unfortunately for me, I made Tony Mackey's come up. He got a wee bit of a scare over in New York and just pulled away probably in the last few minutes. New York played really well, and then London probably the last day they played, and they went to the penalties.
Boom, yes.
Yeah, first penalty shootout in Championship football, I believe.
Your take on penalties?
There's no other way unless you do 50s, is it? 45s?
Well, Daniel Cooley made a good point last week. Like, if you don't look, he's not in support of penalties, but he kind of said the first team to score 3 points, the first team to get a goal, I think, goal to goal, something like that, because he wasn't entertaining the ideas of penalties.
Yeah, I suppose it's the handy way out because soccer does it, and sure, we
But
seem to do certain things like that there. But I don't know. You could maybe have 45s could be one thing. I think that in rugby they have a kick off, don't they? From
yeah, but what if you don't maybe have the players to execute the 45? It does take legs. That
tough cookies.
there we go.
You know what I mean? God knows you mightn't have a player to take a penalty. You know what I mean? You mightn't have players. Well, maybe you could have from the 45 a one-on-one with a defender. I don't know. And you have to score a goal. I don't know. It's hard to know. Penalties seem to be the simplest and easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Without, and then it gives a chance for us goalies to make a save and be a hero. Have to always support the GKU. You know what I mean? But yeah, actually, listen, it is what it is, and it's penalties for now. And Tony Mack came out on top on that side. But yeah, I think if performances wise is what you're looking at, you're going to see Cavan will pip them at the post. But he smiled there. You like that?
It's the way you say Cavan. I love it. It's like you're from Cavan with that accent. Any Cavan relations?
No, I used to work with a couple of boys from Cavan.
God help you. Who with it?
Yeah, a boy called TP O'Reilly's from Ballybay.
TP.
Good lad.
Oh, he'd be a good fella. But TP O'Reilly. Oh, he'd be, yeah.
Glasses.
Right, yeah.
Right, it's a good while ago now, 6 years ago now. Well, this is I haven't seen him in a while. But yeah, listen, he's a good lad. But yeah, Cavan going forward, they've done really well. They've wiped the floor with everyone so far. For Mana, and then who was the one
down in the first round, then for Mana, yeah.
Yeah, all Ulster performances again. Fancy that, all Ulster teams coming up against each other again in these games. But we going on performance wise, I'd say Sligo probably have far too much for Sligo. Sorry, Tony.
No, Sligo have far too much for Sligo.
Or Cavan far too much for Sligo. Is that what I said? Sorry.
Yeah. It's not that late either, P.
It's getting late. I was working Sunday. Jesus, catching up with me.
The Cavan threat, Paddy Lynch absolutely flying, Gro McKernan doing very well as well. Paul, it's Croke Park, it'll probably suit Cavan style play, so them men will be looking to lead Cavan to the win. Yeah,
Cavan haven't really changed too much, and the sort of all action stuff.
Ray Galligan flying too, yeah. You'd love that.
The goalkeeper, yeah, Ray, he's stepping up the field like I particularly hats off to him the last day, like saving them 2 penalties was absolutely fantastic. Down, yeah. And then he chipped in with 7 or 8 points as well, didn't he?
Oh, 6 against Down, I think, yeah.
6, just to say I was Down, yeah. So, he's flying. He's a shoe-in for another probably all-star this year again. He's been very good. But we put our hands up for Ethan as well. Don't forget Ethan.
Ethan, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to refer to Armagh. Christ bless us.
Yeah, but, Cavan are probably, have underperformed. And, the Tailteann Cup is a good stepping stone for Cavan, to realise that they probably are a better team than what they've shown in the league, and they've been caught in the league and down in them divisions for too long now, and it's time probably. I'm sure it's not by choice that Mickey Graham he wants to be up there with the big boys in the All-Ireland Championship. So it's a good way to get straight back up into the All-Ireland Championship this year if you win the Tailteann Cup, and he'll be all guns blazing to get a good performance out of the boys. And I think going forward, Cavan, they do have a lot more firepower. Any frees, Raymond will probably step up and hit them, and he's expert at them at this stage. And Thomas himself, Gerald, and the boys, they'll be chipping them scores all day, and they'll probably have too much of a scoring threat for probably Sligo to come to deal with.
I'd say it'll be a good game to look forward to. And then in the other semi-final, you have Westmeath against Offaly in Croke Park. 4 p.m. game will be live on Armagh.
Yeah, Offaly, coming forward, I think there's a lot of things probably going in Offaly's favour. They've serious management team in, and I think there's no stone left unturned there with probably budget with Mr. Larry backing them up.
Well, Tomás O'Shea always had dreams to be part of the Offaly setup, Paul.
Yeah, he's a bit like Robbie Keane. You know what I mean? It's always been my dream to play for Liverpool, and Celtic, and Spurs, and LA Galaxy, and all right. But no, listen. If Shane has the pockets, he can get whoever he wants. And listen, I was talking. Manager Thomas was up at the Armagh sort of reunion charity thing for
Oh
James
yes,
Real
yeah, of course,
earlier
yeah.
in the year, and we managed to get chatting to him, and he's there's a lot of stuff that they've set in place now, and it probably, would take a bit of working awfully, but he seemed really happy with about how they were going. But
Right.
a Tailteann Cup would be a fine scalp for them this year also. So it seems to, probably has a lot of detractors, the Tailteann Cup. But listen, I'd say yourself included, you'd be glad enough to get a bit of silverware in Croke Park at some stage in the year. You could have been out of the championship altogether, and just looking forward to the club championship. But we have, the secondary competition, and everybody seemed to be buying into it and putting a lot of effort in. So, Offaly and Westmeath, not too far away from each other. So there'll be a lot of a niggle in the game, I'd imagine, a bit of heart. But you can see the two teams going hell for leather. But I think that that could be an extra time. It'll be close enough, I'd imagine. Westmeath going all right. A couple of good players going forward, and I think it could be hard enough to call, but you could probably just pep Offaly by a point.
Oh, interesting. And even the power of John Heslin, Ray Kennellan for Westmeath. Do you think them boys could inspire Westmeath this weekend, Paul?
Yeah, listen, he's about a long time now. He's going rightly. I think he was even playing back when I was playing county football, so that's a while ago now.
Stone Age.
But yeah, listen, I just think even though with that sort of scoring power, you're going to get Offaly on a good day, I think. But as you say, 50-50, a couple of points in it, maybe Offaly.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Yeah, no, it'll be great. And I suppose, just on a side note as well, Paul, the Tailteann Cup, and I know the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of got a bit of slag and a bad PR around it. And I know the players met up and the media day, and they've done a big kind of T-shape at Croke Park, and it was made a bit of a joke of, Paul. But look, maybe it has ended up pretty well. Teams are playing competitive matches. You've seen Leitrim the last couple of days. Leitrim were kind of hard done by, and teams of a similar standard getting to ladder in the competition. Whoever wins this going to lift the trophy in Croke Park. Bit of momentum from it, so it's worked out okay.
I think so, and I don't see making a joke out of it because it's not the Sam Maguire. You know what I mean? It seems to be this all be all and end all. Has to be an all Ireland or not. These teams, they could have been out of the championship the way it's structured this year back in March. You know what I mean, or April, whenever the championship started. When the championship started in April, wasn't it? So you could have been out then with a couple of games done and dusted, and here we are with the likes of the whole championship is going to be over. Sam Maguire's over on the 24th of July this year. So here you are with you're still 4 teams in the lower leagues, in Division 3 and 4, and they're going to get to Croke Park and have a final, as you say, and a cup possibly lift, and then that brings the group together for longer, and you can bring that into next year. It isn't as long a haul into next year, so there's a lot of things to buy into it, and I think the players obviously have done that because you have 4 fairly strong teams in the 2 semi-finals, and they don't seem to be taking it lightly, and going by the performances so far, that they're all there hasn't been too much of a drop off in numbers on the squad, so everybody's sort of bought into it, and they're going to all hell out to win it. So, there you are. Cavan could win another cup this year.
Absolutely, Big P. Absolutely. I suppose just on a side note as well, is the game in a good place from your eyes? Obviously, hurling is kind of leading from the front at the minute, but do you feel football is in a strong place at the minute?
I do, yeah. I don't think it's too bad. I think yesterday's game, albeit from Armagh, the first half was very good. I thought the type of football played was brilliant. You've seen all the good things from the game. You've seen long passing. You've seen scores taken from distance outside the so-called scoring zone. You know, it sort of had a bit of everything. I know Armagh ran away with it in the second half, surely, but up to that point, it was a ding-dong battle, and the quality of football was superb. And just Armagh got on top of things and managed to blot Donegal out of it. But you know, that done my heart good, just seeing the way the two teams went at that game, and it was very enjoyable. I suppose as an Armagh man, it done your heart good. But even the game against ourselves against Tyrone, there was a wee bit more expansive type of game. And I think if teams can buy into that more expansive, kicking the ball a wee bit more, rather than the running game, which seems to be really prevalent with a lot of poorer standard probably of teams. I think if they can improve on the kick passing element of the game, that's the enjoyment I get, and sort of a philosophy that I would like to see the way we sort of play the game. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. There's too much of fear with not losing the game rather than going to win the game. You know what I mean? And to win the game, you have to score more than opposition. If you can get the ball, transfer the ball quicker and more accurate into the opposing, your own forward line, and create more chances, it's only going one way. Like you have to create these scores yourself rather than trying to run it through and sideways and backwards and waiting for a chance. Surely that's going to happen if a move breaks down. Yes, certainly, but try and get turnovers, get the ball moving quickly, have players up the field rather than everybody transitioning back. If you can keep players up the field, because if you do turn over the ball, you have a target to hit then, you know what I mean, with a long pass. So the game it's up to managers trying to get that balance right between, a forward kicking game than this running game that we see, which ends up in a sideways and backwards affair.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it'll just be interesting to see, can we keep that standard up, because obviously there's a kind of a lot of complaints about X wins out at the minute, so it'd be good to see the game in a good position. I suppose last on Paul, I know there's only 2 games, but bet of the weekend player to watch.
Sorry, say it again.
Or what would be your bet of the weekend player to watch for the 2 Tailteann Cup semi-finals?
Tailteann Cup semi-finals. Listen, if your goalkeeper, Mr. Galligan, comes up with sort of a performance against Down, and he's chipping over scores, he's always, the goalkeeper seems to be one to watch, and he's one of the better ones out there. You always like to see, as I say myself, players going forward and getting our goalkeepers going and
would you have done it yourself back in the day?
No, we had Ashley McConville.
But true enough.
You imagine me going off trying to touch the ball off Ashley McConville for free? Yeah. Or even Stephen McDonald or Ronan Clark, or we had an abundance of lads that could kick scores from anywhere. So you know what I would have been told.
It would have been an intimidating size. I tell you that much.
Yeah, let them boys beat away. But saying that, Raymond Galligan very good. But I like Thomas Galligan as well. He's very good footballer. He's impressive. He got his All-Star a couple of years ago, and he's very good footballer.
And the bet of the weekend.
The bet of the weekend.
Yeah.
So we have to go with Cavan, don't we?
There's the money in that, though. You said Offaly.
There's no money. Yeah, I suppose the Offaly one would probably be the one you would, if you're looking. But as I said to you earlier, I'm not a betting man.
I know you're not, but you need to give the listeners what they want, Big P.
Okay, so we go for Offaly by a couple of points. Go on. We're not back down this stage.
Brilliant stuff. Paul Hearty, Love Island's on at the minute, so no doubt you want to catch up on that.
Absolutely not. I'd rather watch paint dry.
Brilliant stuff. Paul Hearty, an absolute pleasure. Thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, the podcast is brought to you by Orgarech.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMAC Podcast to get 15% off on Orgarech.com and get the best games, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. Paul, it's good to see you, my man. Thanks a million.
Take a while, handy, sir.